high degree of confidence in the launch, and so I'm assuming that the FDA inspection is going swimmingly. Maybe you could just give us a general sense of how you would encourage us to think about the launch and uptake, obviously given your premium strategy in the fourth quarter versus how we should think about the rollout through the balance, or maybe just without guiding specifically, but just kind of the rollout through the balance of 2022. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. First on the FDA process and where we're at, consistent with prior commentary, we indicated that prior to our PDUFA date, everything, had been addressed except for the on-site inspection as part of our PAI. As you're aware, we press released that an inspection date had not been scheduled yet. And then due to the FDA delays, we were in a bit of a holding pattern waiting for that to occur. Given that this is our first drug approval, remote inspection was not a possibility and they were going to need to physically inspect the plant. We then in the spring put out a press release that we'd been given an inspection date to occur before the end of Q2. And obviously in our press release and in our remarks, the FDA has shown up at our facility. So we continue to feel very good that, they're following sort of through with, the expected inspection plan. Yes, I think, you're sensing consistency with our tone around the expected approval before year end. We've taken advantage of this time to, beef up sort of our readiness for the inspection and continue to, advance our commercial preparation plans. In terms of the launch trajectory, we've also tried to be consistent. This will be the first time that our product has been used outside of clinical trials. And as a result, we're going to be sort of very thoughtful, intentional in the first phase of our launch, similar to what we did with the RHA filler line. And so I think for the balance of this year likely and post-approval, we're going to spend most of our time focusing on ensuring that we're going to get really good reproducible outcomes that are consistent with our clinical trial data. And that, commercial launch is likely to be much more of a 2022 phenomenon. So that's how we're thinking about it, but there will be this stub period post-approval where we are going to need to spend some time with a select group of customers getting real-world commercial experience before going through a more traditional launch. Great, thanks for your question.
Thank you. And now our next question comes from the line of Terence Flynn from Goldman Sachs. Your line is now open.
Great. Thanks for taking the questions. Maybe just one follow-up, Mark, on the DAXI manufacturing side. In the past, I think you've noted about a 6 to 10 week timeline for a turnaround from the agency. Just wondering if that's still your expectation. And then obviously a strong quarter for the filler side here. So, and obviously breadth contributed, but just wondering what you're seeing from the reorder side of things. Thank you.
Yeah, so first off, we intentionally didn't give sort of a set time frame because we're outside of the PDUFA clock, where within the PDUFA framework, everything is moving towards a deadline. It's hard to know exactly the time frame that the agency is going to work under as it relates to the inspection. Clearly, they're trying their best, I think, to resolve any of these outstanding issues, and so we continue to stick to our commentary that we're focused on an approval certainly before the end of 2021. And have full preparation and build schedule going on in the interim. Regarding the filler and reorder rates, I think it's still a little early for us to make a lot of commentary around it. This is our third full quarter of launch, so we still are seeing the cycle of accounts coming online, figuring out where it fits in their practice. And then we also expect, with the approval of our neuromodulator, that's going to introduce another new dynamic in there that, may change a little bit sort of the percent of the business and accounts willing to consider giving to us, which accounts might be willing to lean in that were, otherwise waiting until we had a full bag. So I think it's still a little bit early. Certainly as we, get visibility and have data that we think is more reflective of what the business is going to look like going forward, we're happy to share it, but we still think we're a little bit early in that process. Great, thanks. Next question.
Thank you. Our next question comes from the line of Annabel Samimy from Stifel. Your line is now open.
Hi guys, thanks for taking my question. Just a little bit more on the commercial preparations you're doing ahead of the approval. What are you able to do? You've obviously penetrated a decent amount of accounts. Is there anything that you can do outside of, potential training and education, such as commercial work, contracting work, preliminary contracting, preliminary negotiation? Is there any of that stuff that can happen ahead of time that could potentially smooth the process for the launch and not pull away too much of the energy from the filler momentum that you're having? And then on the manufacturing side, I realize that, you said that this is a process. And so, I imagine that means that there's a bit of a back and forth. If there are any issues that do come up, would you be telegraphing any of that, or is this just you're keeping it as part of the process and you're still on board for second half, and that's about all you're going to say? Thanks.
Yeah, so first on the commercial prep, obviously in the absence of approval, there's not much that we can do from a promotional standpoint or anything until we have approval. So when we talk about commercial prep, it's all around, we've continued to refine our pricing strategy and more market research work that we've been doing. I think that we've taken advantage of this gap between the launch of the filler and the expected approval of the neuromodulator to build further relationships with physicians at the customer level. So we're continuing to establish the prestige Revance Aesthetics brand. I think people see us now as a company that's working towards a broader range of products, both from a services and a product stage. And then obviously we talked about building inventory in advance of launch. So a lot of the launch prep is internal activities, getting all of our sales materials ready and everything to support